Full house this morning. Beautiful, cool weather. Everybody's liking it, I bet, huh? Could use a little more rain, but good Lord send it to us when we need it bad, okay? Absolutely. Okay, Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And Commissioner Corn, would you do the honors of introducing our pastor, please?
Yes, we have Calvin Cossey here this morning from Mount Zion, and he will lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledges.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Let us pray. Father God, we come this morning thanking you for another opportunity for us to come together, oh Heavenly Father, to do the best for the citizens of Washington County. We ask, oh Heavenly Father, you bless each Commissioner's family. Bless them in the endeavors, oh Heavenly Father, to make Washington County a better place, a place that you, oh Heavenly Father, have already ordained. We pray for the items that's on the agenda, that they would be carried out and they would be done for the betterment of the citizens. So, Father, we just ask that this meeting would be what you would have it to be, but most of all, that you be magnified and glorified. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, we're going to have a moment of silence for the DPS tragedy, which will be the 1-year anniversary will be on the 12th. We did not want to forget what happened in our community that day. This morning we have with us law enforcement and EMS personnel. Would y'all please come forward, please? EMS. Here we go. There we go. Okay. If each of you would introduce yourself to the attendees this morning, please.
I'm Sheriff Trey Holloway. Justin Knuckle.
Carl Bolden.
Stephen Eiler.
Constable Ken Holly.
Matt Groman.
Genesis Verdana.
Ryan Freitas.
The reason I asked these people to be with us this morning, these servants, they were instrumental that day in trying to deal with that tragedy. Without our law enforcement, our EMS, we're just at a loss, folks. And I want to just take this opportunity so we do not forget what happened that day. We need to do not let them forget. These type of things cannot go on in our community. So, Sheriff, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Absolutely. Y'all would please join me in a prayer for our community. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, acknowledging the blessing of community that you have bestowed upon us. The community you have created for us to live in fellowship with one another, to support, encourage, and uplift one another in times of joy and times of sorrow. Lord, I ask for your protection over our community. Guard us from harm, violence, and discord. Let your peace reign in our streets, our homes, our businesses, and our hearts. Lift up those who are struggling within our community, those who are experiencing hardship, poverty, loneliness, or illness. Surround them with your love and comfort, and inspire each of us to reach out with compassion and support. In your name, Lord, I pray for Washington County, Texas. May it be a reflection of your kingdom on earth, where love reigns supreme. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your being here this morning. Thank you so much.
I think it's really important that we as a community come together and unite when we have a tragedy like this, especially an attack on law enforcement or people in public service. The temperature has gotten pretty high in politics, and what ended up happening is some of our citizens lost their lives that day, and a lot of other people have had memories of things that were horrific happen to them. And we as a community should never forget those things that happened that day, so that the memory of those people are not forgotten. Their lives were lost needlessly. And it was horrific for this commissioner's court. I can't speak for them, but as this tragedy unfolded, there were so many things that were going on, things that happened that we were had to be prepared for quickly. Thanks to all the law enforcement, everyone involved that day, from top to bottom. They came together and they made something happen that was very impressive. They were able to get those people the help they needed in a very short period of time. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for all that you go through in your day-to-day work. We really appreciate it.
Any other comments? Okay. We're going to jump the schedule just a little bit this morning. We're going to go to item number 11 next. Item number 11, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of a proclamation proclaiming April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month in Washington County. Our proclamation. Whereas sexual assault, a violent and devastating crime, affects men, women, and children of all races, ages, and economic situations, and the consequences of sexual assault are often severe and long-lasting, and the risk of developing post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and many other psychological and physical ailments increases dramatically for victims of sexual assault. And each year, Focusing Families and many other rape crisis centers across the state designate the month of April for an educational campaign to promote awareness and on the network of support that has been mobilized to address the issue of sexual assault. And Focusing Families provides training to rape crisis and law enforcement personnel, as well as volunteers and staff of Focusing Families and community groups. Outreach is also provided to schools and information on topical issues related to sexual assault. Now therefore be proclaimed that I, John Dernberger, County Judge, on behalf of Commissioners Court of Washington County, Texas, do hereby declare April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. I ask all residents of Washington County to increase their awareness and work to prevent sexual assault in their communities and across the great state. Together, united in this effort, we can continue to make a difference. This day of 8th of April 2025. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the proclamation proclaiming April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month in Washington County.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Martinez, you welcome.
Thank you for having us again. We're really blessed to have such a wonderful community have us come out each year so that we can give awareness to sexual assault. Thank you so much. Without the community, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And I was going to say thank you to them. They just left. We really appreciate it. And, you know, being united is the way to get things done. So this year's theme for our Sexual Assault Awareness Month is Together We Act, United We Change. It highlights the importance of working together to address and prevent sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. Why act together? Because sexual violence impacts everyone. This campaign focuses on enhancing public understanding of sexual violence, amplifying the voices of survivors, and empowering us to work together to give our communities a safe and supportive environment to live in. How does United make a change? Because anyone can be a victim of sexual violence, and people who commit sexual abuse, assault, and harassment exist in all of our communities. Education is the first step to action. It gives our communities power to be a part of the solution. What is sexual violence? Sexual violence is an umbrella term that includes any type of unwanted sexual contact, including sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. That was 68 seconds. An American was just sexually assaulted. Every 68 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes of that victim is a child. Together we act with purpose. United, we have the power to change the world for the better. Together we act. United we change.
Good. Thank you so much. Would your group like to come forward for a photograph, please?
Yes.
One, two, three. One, two,
Okay, at this time, we will recess our regular session agenda, and we will reopen in a public hearing. Public hearing pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.152 for public comments regarding a petition to install a no-through truck sign on Gilmore Road from its intersection with Highway 36 north to its intersection with Murray Road, Precinct 3. Mr. Toth?
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, so we are in receipt of a petition for a no-through truck designation along Gilmore Road from 36 to Maury. And as some of you know, this particular area does have a vertical clearance on 390. Now, the importance of 390 in this area, it does act as a minor arterial that will connect 36 to the western portion of this northern portion of the county. There's a lot of traffic that does traverse through 390. Now, in this particular area, right where it crosses the railroad tracks, there is a very limited clearance vertically that will prohibit truck traffic to continue down 390. Now, for a long time, what's actually been taking place is that truck traffic will actually bypass the state road at this particular area when it comes to trucks, and they'll actually traverse down county roads to bypass and get back on 390. It is a pretty short jog. They go straight north on Maury, or they'll come off of Gilmore on 36. They'll traverse back over to Wolf Creek and then back onto 390. That said, there is a lot of truck traffic that is typically reserved more for a state road. What we have for you today is a petition from the public from Maury to Gilmore, from Maury to 36 on Gilmore that has met the requirements to bring forth a public hearing and discussion items to the Commissioner's Court for no-through truck designation. So we've looked at this area, and there is two primary routes that are available, as I just discussed. Gilmore from 36 and Maury from 390, where they converge and come back over to Wolf Creek. The Maury section is approximately 0.33 miles. That would be where they converge. And then from 36 on Gilmore is approximately 0.7 miles. Now, we can look at it this a couple different ways. I'm looking at this from the infrastructure standpoint, right? Are we going to be able to converge our traffic to a shorter distance of detour? Do we have these separated into either or? We do have our primary signage on Maury, but that's primarily for the purpose of if you do have truck traffic that does see the signage, the closest route would be to get a Maury and come back around. But at the same time, my only recommendation would be Maury and to do the no-through truck on Gilmore strictly from the standpoint of we have less truck traffic on county infrastructure, which typically isn't meant to be able to handle commercial, industrial traffic as a state road typically would be meant to. That said, there is multiple trains of thought on this, but that would be my recommendation.
And is that recommendation based upon the fact that, because in the petition it says that Gilmore is not a paved road, but Murray is. So the concern sounds to be dust. Is that the main emphasis for this?
I knew though that the dust has been a big discussion topic for the landowners in that area. So there was recycled asphalt pavement that was installed on Gilmore, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. And as you all know, over time, that emulsion, that binding layer for the recycled asphalt pavement, it does still reduce dust compared to a typical limestone flex-based roadway, but it's still there. Whenever you do have truck traffic, as you would for something along these lines, there is a increased dust that you would typically see on this versus another road with wrap. So that has been an area of concern, absolutely, for the landowners on Gilmore. There has been a lot of conversation about the paving of Gilmore roadway. I know we've discussed that. It's not on our short-term list in terms of this year, but it is something we're looking at for the coming years. We're also looking at major drainage improvements, which, to be honest with you, from a longer-term perspective, we are trying to see if we can maybe try and tie those together. But at the same time, that's not going to be happening in the coming year. So dust will be prevalent if there is truck traffic that continues down Gilmore.
The other concern, and when we, in a previous engineer told us that the 90-degree turn at Murray was something that was a problem for those 18-wheelers and sending more truck traffic to that 90-degree turn. In the past, they were concerned about that. You have relatively no concern about the 18-wheeler making the radius from Murray to Gilmore and sending more trucks in that area to that location for that specific reason?
I'm not terribly concerned with the intersection. We do have quite a bit of space through there. They have the capability to make that turn. Obviously, you want to limit the amount of turning that you do have for larger truck traffic, but at the same time, we do have the space in place for them to be able to make that turn.
Okay. Anyone in the public would like to make a comment concerning this item? Yes, sir. Would you state your name, please?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, my name is Steve Malden, and I'm a property owner in Gilmore.
Okay.
May I approach and hand out some
Sure.
photos? Apologize, I only made 2 copies. I didn't realize it was a larger audience, so I'll let you distribute.
Okay.
One of the major concerns is the dust. There are photos in there that show when tankers come through, especially in the hot, dry times, there's clouds of dust. I believe the road is a lot of limestone based. The dust blows into our yard, our house, into pastures where cows are. So that's a primary concern. Also, there are children who live through there. There's at the entrance of Gilmore, there is a children at play sign. There are property owners that have kids and grandkids, myself included, who are out in the yard. There's a fishing pond right off the dusty road. There is, I heard concern of a 90-degree turn. There are 2 other 90-degree turns on our route that trucks have to take, on the gravel route. So that's my major concerns, and again, the photos in there that support what I'm saying.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment on this, brother? I think this gentleman had his hand up first.
My name is Ross Martella, M-A-R-T-E-L-L-A, and I'm actually a third. My dad was junior, and my grandpa was senior. And we've been residents of Washington County part-time since the 1950s. Parents rode the grandparents rode the Saltgrass Trail ride to Holt Park with some of our friends that lived up here, and I have an uncle that is an old family from up here that my dad's sister married. So I'm very familiar with Washington County. Went to Blinn when I was younger, and then on to Stephen F. Austin and majored in agriculture. So I have a little knowledge of science and animals, Then I went to work for Fairmount Mineral Corporation. I worked with them for 7 years, but I worked for the oil companies down in South Texas, specifically with silica, sand silica for fracking. And now with Fairmount Minerals, I was head of the safety for 3 states for 2 years and was paid a really good salary for them. And they had an office in Somerville because the rail yard was there. We were fracking, bringing a lot of frac sand for here. I'm familiar with the traffic, I'm familiar with South Texas, been down there for 20 years. Well, anyhow, I came here not to plea and beg to have this road paved or to facilitate the truckers to keep doing what they're doing. The truckers can take 290, other routes, other paved roads that are more prepared than this road. This road's totally not prepared for truck traffic, not in the least. And by adding the wrong materials to the road, what started this in the first place. When I was a kid, and for many years, until I moved up here full-time in the 80s, that road was red bull rock. Lots of roads in Washington County wash gravel out of the Brazos River. In the summertime, it'd make a little dust cloud, kind of stay in that area and go back down. It wasn't silica dust like you get out of the Burton outcropping of soft sandstone. Has a lot of crystals in it, a lot of bentonite type material in it. It's real dusty, and when it gets wet, it's real slick. May I approach the judge?
Absolutely.
Okay. This stuff. Here's a picture of that's in my corrals. These trucks come down that road, this giant cloud of dust comes across the whole place. Especially in the summer with the prevailing south wind, it makes it worse. It covers the trees. It gets on the dogs and pets. Covers all the grass across the whole farm. By August, it's all over everywhere, like someone dusted us with baby powder. I've lost 3 trophy Longhorns. My Longhorns have been purchased by lots of people in Washington County. I sell them cheap, $250 back in the day, because I had a job doing something else and people loved doing it. But they have sold for as high as the Fort Worth sale for $250,000. Fox Creek sold 2 of them for that amount. And I have some of their paperwork. I was told by your commissioner that he regularly puts oil on this road, Your Honor, and that's how much oil is on that road. As you can see from these pictures, here's Highway 36. That's my Jeep. I took these yesterday, so they'd be current. When you turn off of the highway, going east on Gilmore Road, this is Gilmore Road, you can see where the pavement ends and the dirt begins. There's no oil, hard top, it's silica dust. Sand crushed, sandstone from Burton. The pavement ends, it's just sand. Silica.
Mr. Stoltz, are you buying the rock from Burton?
No, sir.
Well, have you ever bought rock from Burton?
I never have, but in the past, in the history of Washington County, they had been at one point.
That's what I was told. But you're not using Red Bull rock or washed gravel out of the Brazos anymore, are you?
Bull Rock is not recommended.
And why is that?
So there's a lot of reasons, but the primary reason is, I'm sorry, Judge, may I speak?
Please.
The primary reason you don't want to use material that doesn't have edges, I guess you'd say, or is fractured, is that you want to be able to have that material to be able to bind and make a very strong, solid foundation for your roadways. If you do have bull rock, which is a river-based rock, you do have loose material. Whenever it is rounded, they can't converge together. They can't bind together to make a very strong roadway to hold. They'll give, right? So that's why we use that. We go off of TxDOT specifications, which TxDOT specifications for 247 flex base does not allow for rounded material.
But this is, TxDOT doesn't maintain that road, you do. Council does. Okay. Well, I guess it's cheaper, it's something to use. My problem is with going with cheaper material or something like that, is that we run into this problem. Working for the mining companies, silica dust is a huge hazard. It causes autoimmune disorders. It makes you sick, makes your animals sick. And I've had no problem with Washington County until today. I love people up here, all but a couple love me, and those people deserve to be sued anyway. Later, a judge even told me they did. But anyhow, he told me to sue. But I remodeled a building here, and I brought it to the attention of City Council that we had a railroad at one time. It was funded by the citizens of Washington County, which hadn't been done anywhere else in the state. Being a petroleum landman, I found these old records. Went back to the 1800s, and I actually found an old map. The further I looked into it, the more awesome the history was, and found out we had our own railroad and a remodeled building that was going to be torn down. Man, owner was going to tear it down. And so, yes, I do own the Pioneer Smokehouse building. I put over $150,000 into that. I tried to contribute to the community all that I can. And I'm not asking for anything in return. I'm trying to save my community by pleading with you and telling you this. And I believe the judge would tell you the same thing. The silica dust is case law with the Supreme Court here in Texas.
Ms. Martelli, we are all very familiar with silica dust, okay?
2
Thank you.
year and a half ago, I spent 12 days at Temple. I now have my senior gratis. My family's been perfectly healthy. My grandfather was a star fullback at A&M when they won the Southwest Conference in 27. I have an autoimmune disease. I've lost 3 cows and a horse. What is it going to take to either get this road paved or tell those truckers to go back to 290, which ain't good, they're going up to 21 anyways, to haul oil, they got to haul it to Hearn. Energy transfer. They go that way or that way. In fact, I was at the dump with my buddy here since kindergarten. I've known him. And the guy working the dump didn't know who we were, but he's running the backhoe. And Greg was talking to him about the dust down that road because he told us he was a trucker for energy transfer and hauled oil from the wells on 390. What did he tell you, Mr. Newt? Because I was standing right there and he told me. He said
They thought it was funny, they would speed up and go down the road.
they actually think it's funny and go faster down the road because I was complaining about it. And here I am sick and had to quit work, can barely stand on my feet more than 3 hours a day, and you ain't done nothing. You ain't done a thing to fix that road. You have other priorities, I understand. And I haven't had a complaint. These guys that do all the work, I see them out there working in the heat, they're working their rear end off hard. And this judge is these people here are trying to protect us from getting sued. You gonna wait till we get sued for $5 million like it's been case precedent in the state of Texas? I'm asking you to do something. Amen, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment on this subject? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Diane Smith, and for the record, my family has lived in that community next to Gilmore Road since the 1800s, 1860 something. I personally and my husband have lived there for 48 years, and he would be here today except he's just had surgery. My neighbor has lived there all her life. We've dealt with the dust for many years. And yes, it is a problem, but it's not all the trucks. When you drive by there, when it's dry in any time of year, you will see behind you a huge cloud of dust, which sometimes you cannot see the car behind you. I'm perfectly healthy. My neighbor's perfectly healthy. My husband is. You deal with the dust, but here's the issue. If you're going to deal with the dust on this road, you've got to face the dust on every single gravel road in Washington County, not just one. okay? And when they used to come and put the oil down, it did help. It would keep the dust down and whatnot. And I agree, it needs to be paved. It would be the best solution. But when you divert all those trucks to Murray Road, and I live on Murray Road, I'm retired, I get my grandkids off the bus every day, I sit on my porch a lot, and my husband does too. The issue is with those trucks, number one, they're speeding. Number two, they do not stop at the stop sign. They run off into Miss Harmel's culvert. They have ruined her culvert sometimes. They have run off into our fence onto our property because they're going too fast and they can't make the turn. I have personally witnessed them almost hit the school bus that's dropping the kids off at my neighbor's house. So when you divert more, there's already enough trucks coming, but when you divert more trucks, it's a big safety issue. And we have asked in this commissioner's court many times that the sheriff's department come out there and sit out there one day and see how many people, how many trucks run that stop sign and how many are speeding on that road where there are children playing, including my grandchildren. And nothing has ever been done. We see the sheriff go by, but it's more for other issues. It's not, they're just driving by. They're not stopping to see these trucks running the stop sign. And I guarantee you can come sit on my front porch any day of the week, and you can see these trucks never stopping at the stop sign, running that stop sign, coming around that curve so fast that they barely miss our fence. So you're trading one issue for another. You're going to put all that truck traffic on our road, and instead of them being able to go straight through there, they're going to be making this turn again, and they're going to be in my neighbor's yard, they're going to be in my yard. And it's a safety issue for anybody in that neighborhood, not just children, for anyone in that neighborhood. So, anything else, Karen?
Well, I'm Karen Harmon.
Yeah, Karen.
Off at Gilmore, and I've lived there since the '56. My parents bought that place I'm on. I have seen almost head-on collisions from the trucks coming off of 390 on the other side of the underpass, come across the railroad track. It's almost a 90-degree turn in front of my place. One coming off of Murray Road, and they're hitting on that 90-degree turn in the middle of the turn, and I've seen several times. I'm not out there with my camera taking pictures all day long. I don't need to do that. I've seen it. My word of mouth is true. Almost head-on collisions right there in front of my parents' place. And like she said, we have kids on and off the bus. The truckers don't stop at the stop sign. They don't abide the speed limit sign. Yes, and also the dust factor. I've lived out there almost all my life. That's an issue. But the big issue is the safety out there. I've had 18-wheelers fly down the mailbox, ruined my culvert, had to get a new culvert put in just 2 months ago, and I went out there with my taking pictures, my camera. One missed my mailbox about 5 foot into my yard. I got ruts out there. I'm sure y'all saw the ruts in my yard. What would I have done if I'd have been mowing my grass out there? I may not be here today. That's a true fact. And I think it's a true fact. Like again, I don't pack my phone around and be snapping pictures. I could, but I lived it.
Our issue with this whole petition is the safety factor.
That's the safety.
And we already have the issue of the safety with the trucks we have coming down there now. And if you add all the trucks that are coming down Gilmore onto Murray Road, you're just compounding the safety situation. And I welcome any of you to come sit on my front porch any day of the week and see what I'm talking about. They don't care if anybody's out there on the porch or not. They don't stop at that stop sign. And it is a safety issue for all of us neighbors. And several houses that are right at the road. And one of these days, it's gonna go through somebody's house.
It's not gonna be mine.
And God forbid, my children play in my front yard, they play in my field. Well, that's where the truck went through, was through my field. Took out our fence and went into our field. And my grandchildren like the field because they can, and it borders Gilmore. They like it because they can play out there with their airplanes and stuff, footballs and stuff like that. And God forbid, I'm usually out there with them, but I can't stop an 18-wheeler that's coming too fast around the curve, you know? But that's our issue, is the safety.
Okay, well, thank you
That's
for
a
your
big
comments.
concern.
Thank you. Anyone else want to testify on this issue?
Only thank you, Judge, for hearing us, giving us an opportunity to.
Well, thank you for being here and
Thank
speaking
you.
in a respectful manner. Thank you.
for listening, and thank you for all the work that you guys do.
Okay, we'll go on to the second item on our public hearing. Pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.152 for public comments regarding a petition to reduce the speed limit on Old Mill Creek Road from South Berlin Road to County Place West Road, Precinct 4. Would anyone like to testify about this item? Anyone from the public want to comment on this item? Excuse me just a moment. I guess I'm a little out of line. Mr. Stoltz, I think you need to explain this to everyone first. My mistake. Sorry, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So we do have another petition. This is regarding Old Mill Creek. So what you're going to see is we actually do have two separate petitions that were submitted along Old Mill Creek. There was one from Berlin to Country Place West Road, and the second is from Country Place Road to Farmers Road. So the public hearing we're looking at right now is from South Berlin to Country Place West. So what we did was we looked at the petition. It did meet all the requirements to bring forward a public hearing and discussion from the Commissioners Court. With that in place, we did follow in with a speed limit analysis. The speed limit analysis that we conducted was based off of the 85th percentile methodology, which is a TxDOT recommended methodology if traffic counts do warrant, which this is one of our higher traffic roadways. So we actually can't implement that particular methodology here, which is what I actually recommend if we can, which we could. So anyways, we over the course of February and March, we've taken data points along this roadway to determine the speed limits. And the way the 85th percentile methodology, I had to get that out, works is that you take your traffic counts, your speeds of all your vehicles that are coming down the road, and you take it and you say, okay, this is your 85% of people driving less than this speed are driving what you would consider safe speeds. And really the beauty of this particular methodology goes into, as a driver, one of the things that you look at is, what is my visibilities? What is my clearance? Is there a lot of traffic? Is there pedestrians on the road? Those are all factors that you as a driver take into account whenever you're driving a road that is unposted, which is, in this particular case, is the situation. With that into account, 15% of drivers typically drive a little bit heavier than what you would consider safe speeds. So that's the core methodology, or core reason behind this methodology of determining what is the 85th percentile of driving on this roadway. Based on the speed limit analysis that we conducted from February to March, we did pull in that the 85th percentile for drivers along this section of roadway was 47 miles per hour. The petition in place was requesting 45. Typically with 47, you would generally round down. 48, 49, you'd round up. Based on that, I would recommend for this particular section of Old Mill Creek that we do move forward with a 45 mile per hour speed limit. You've got a full packet of all the data that was collected based on pace speeds, subjective speeds, etc. So if there's any questions along the lines of what those are and how those factor in, I'd be happy to answer those questions. But based on that methodology, the recommended speed that I would be presenting to you would be 45 miles per hour for this particular section.
Okay, Mr. Stokes.
Yes, sir.
Since the next item basically connects to that item, all the same road, just different little stretch there, would you just go ahead and describe it as well, please?
Absolutely, sir. So with the second petition, this goes from Country Place west of Farmers Road on Old Mill Creek. So we did a secondary study in that particular area. It's very similar. We did the exact same analysis, just in a different section of roadway. What you're going to see in this particular section of roadway is there's a little bit of an S-curve. There's a vertical clearance in place. There's more populated homes in this area, so it obviously would warrant that it would be less speeds driven on this roadway. But the question is, how much slower are people driving in this particular section of roadway versus the initial one going to Berlin, which does have more vertical or more visibility in that section of road. With that in place, in the speed study that we conducted from February to March, we did come back with 40 miles per hour was the 85th percentile of drivers on that particular section of roadway. That is a pretty big difference. The other section was 47, so that's 7 miles per hour. People are picking up speed through this area. This is a much smaller section. From Country Place West Road to Farmers Road, this is only approximately a quarter mile of roadway. So this is a much shorter section than what we're dealing with on the other route to Berlin. But at the same time, there is less visibility. There is more populated homes. I do believe that it needs to be lower, and that's why I'm recommending 40, as that's what the data presented based on our analysis.
Would you please explain the mean speed?
Yes, sir.
Would
You're talking
please
about the average?
explain? Yes.
So part of this one is you're looking at what is the average speed? What are your pace speeds? Right. So in this particular case, the average speed of drivers conducted on this analysis was 36.43 miles per hour. So if you take all the driving and you average it out, 36.43 is the average speed of the data points that we collected during our study.
And that was on which portion?
This is the second portion between Country Place West Road to Farmers Road. This would be the shorter quarter mile
Stokes,
section.
let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at Farmers Road, that's just coming out of the city limits, correct?
Yes, sir.
The speed limit there is 35 miles an hour?
Yes, sir, it is.
Correct? And you're recommending that for a quarter mile, as you come out on Old Mill Creek, to raise it 5 miles per hour, 40, and then go to 45?
Yes, sir.
In that short stretch?
Yes, sir.
I don't know how you're going to enforce that 5 miles an hour difference. It seems to me common sense would tell you just do 35 up until the Country Place West Road, and rather than try to have 3 speed limits in that shorter period of time.
And look, that's a fair point. That's absolutely a fair point, right? Do you want to put in additional sections through there? But 2 factors that went into this of my recommendation.
I understand your factors. I know the speeds, but I have a hard time understanding how that's really going to work. But I don't have. You said it's a quarter mile. That it'd be 40 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. It's about 1,800 feet, 1,700 feet.
440 yards. Okay, all right. Is that your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who would like to comment on this?
Can I give y'all something?
Sir.
This is my little hand-drawn rendering of the street and some houses and roads that we've been talking about.
You may want to give one to the news media.
Pretty good, man.
Okay, so hi, my name's Barbara Archer. I live at 501 Country Place West Drive. I'm right at the intersection of Old Mill Creek Road and Country Place West Drive. Okay, so right up the street from Farmers Road. I'm going to kind of be repetitive here because Mr. Stoltz has said some things and the judge has said some things, but I kind of prepared my thing to fight. Okay, so currently the speed from the 290 bridge to Farmers Road is 35 miles per hour. And there is a sign right there at the bridge going toward South Berlin Road that says 35 miles per hour. From 290 bridge to Glen Boulevard, going the opposite direction, is 35 miles per hour, all the way over to Glen. From Farmers Road to South Berlin, in the other direction, it's 60 miles per hour. So it goes from 35 to 60 right away. And the 60 is not posted. Okay, so you're just supposed to be smart and know that you're now on a county road and it's 60. Okay. The speed limit on Farmers Road is 35 miles per hour. The entire way up to 389. So on January 1st, 2025, I was pulled over by a deputy sheriff on Old Mill Creek Road, near the intersection of South Berlin Road and Old Mill Creek Road. As the flashing lights from behind me approached, I looked at my speedometer. I was going 45 miles an hour. I said to my son, I'm not sure why I'm getting pulled over, but I also don't know the speed on this road. And he pulled me over, stopped, and I said to him, so was I speeding? He said, no, actually I'm stopping you for doing a California roll at the intersection by South Berlin and Old Mill Creek Road.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah. So, it's kind of a hairpin thing around there. And so I said, okay, well, he said, I'm going to give you a warning. I said, great, thank you so much. But I've got a question. What is the speed limit on this road? Because I was going 45 and I thought you were pulling me over for that. He said, oh, it's 60. I said, what? Are you kidding me? It's 60 on this road? There's no sign. It doesn't say 60. Why? He said, oh, it's a county road. He explained it to me. And then this experience led me down the road to understanding why, where my house is located, we suffer from what I would say speeding, loud noise, unsafe travel. I can watch them from my kitchen window and just see them. And mostly it's Lauren concrete trucks, semis, motorcycles, Corvettes, people who live on the road. And I will say that the speeds are faster, people going South Berlin toward 290. It's probably a little bit slower going 290 toward South Berlin. Anyway, this experience led me down the path of figuring out how can I get the speed changed. I called Commissioner Hanneth. I said, what do I do? He said, there's a process. You need to undertake a petition. You need to get 75% of the people on your road to sign these petitions and then present it to the county engineer. I did that, and I will say, when I did it, it was in January, and we just had that big snow. And it took me hours upon hours, weekends, to do this. I was climbing under gates, under fences, to get to the people's houses a mile away. It was an undertaking. I'd go up to the people, and they'd say, thank you so much for doing this. We've been wanting to do this for years, but we don't have the time. And so I'm like, yeah, well, we need to change it. So on January 22nd, I filed these two petitions. I agree with the engineer's first petition, which was his recommendation of the 45 miles per hour. What I don't agree with is his 40 miles per hour on that short little stretch. If you're a good catcher with the University of Texas baseball team, you could catch that ball and throw it the distance that he's recommending 40 miles per hour. It's that short. And that's right by my house. So you've got those 35 mile an hour signs that are confusing, because when I went to do the petitions, people said, well, Barbara, the speed limit's already 35. There's a sign right there, and there's no sign that tells you it changes after that. It's 35. And I said, no, here's why, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And one of the people who lives right across the street from me is a judge. And he said to me, Barbara, I don't know. I think you're wrong about this. The speed is already 35. Why do you want to change it? Or no, why do you need a petition for that? And I said, well, Judge, it's not actually 35. He said, I've been living here for 35 years. I never knew that. Okay, so the engineer wants to change the speed from 35 at Farmers Road to 40 miles per hour to Country Place West Road. So from Farmers Road to Country Place West Road, which I have on my schematic here. You can see I actually Miss Road. The distance where it says 35 miles an hour toward South Berlin and then 35 miles toward Glen in the opposite direction where the 35 mile signs are, I put 0.03 miles, it's actually 0.3 miles. And then the next little section goes from Farmers Road to Country Place West Road. And you can see there's that S-curve and you can't see. And it also goes uphill, so you can't see. And the density of houses in that area is much greater than the density between here and South Berlin Road. So, including children in there. So, I miswrote again. That's actually 0.2 miles, not 0.02 miles. I was looking at my speedometer. So, for that short distance, he proposes 40 miles an hour. And then I say, how will law enforcement enforce this rapid change in speeds? Which is what the judge already brought up. They won't. Common sense would be to continue the 35 mile an hour speed through the S-curve and then increase to the 45 for the next 1.6 miles to South Berlin. The two petitions indicate that 95% of the people on this road want these speeds. We live on this road. We are there. I am there every day, living there. We do not need a speed study to tell us what the speed should be. My understanding is that over a 10-week period, the engineer went out 3 times to clock drivers during a work day on sunny days. I was told it took him this long because he was waiting for good days with good weather. What happens in bad weather? What happens at 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning? What happens at 10:30 through 11:30 p.m.? What happens on the weekends? That's when the speeding occurs. That's when the truckers are there. That's when all the badness happens.
Ms. Barbara?
Yes.
I think we're running out of time.
Oh,
Okay?
okay. I was told I wouldn't be cut off, so I kind of.
I'm just saying we're running out of time. I'm not cutting you off. It's
Okay.
just time to wrap it up, though, okay?
Okay. So one other thing I've heard is that, well, what good does it do to change the speed limits when law doesn't enforce it? I would disagree that law doesn't enforce it. What caused me to bring this petition was getting stopped by the sheriff. So law does happen. And I can call Constable Smith or I can call the deputy sheriff and they will come. They've been very responsive. So engineer looks at facts and formulas. They come up with conclusions or plans. People who live on this road are looking at safety of drivers, family members, quality of life, a deterrent to drivers speeding or cutting through, and common sense. One commissioner says their philosophy is a common sense approach to county government, and that every challenge requires the gathering of as much information as possible. That is what I've done here. I've gathered the information and listened and talked to the people.
Nice map, too, by the way. You did a good
Okay,
job
thank
with
you. Additionally, I will say one last thing. That Old Mill Creek Road is used as a cut-through off of 290. GPS, Waze, the apps show it as 60 miles an hour. If we change that, maybe we can deter some of the traffic from coming down Old Mill Creek Road. Because now those people will see, oh, it's actually 45 and then 35. It's gonna take me a lot longer. I don't wanna do that. I'm gonna stay on my big road. So that's, I think too, the thing that bothers me the most is the study is a snap moment in time. Did your kid take the STAR test and do poorly? And you thought, oh, but he didn't feel good that day. The lighting was bad. The font was wrong. Yep. This is the same sort of thing. I live there. We all live there. Everybody signed that petition who's impacted by it. This is what your constituents want.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment on the subject? Hearing none, we will close our public hearing and we'll reopen our regular session agenda. Item number 6, discuss and possibly act upon approving an order designating and installing no-through truck signs on Gilmore Road from its intersection with Highway 36 North to its intersection with Murray Road pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.151, Precinct 3.
So, Mr. Stoltz, would you come up to the microphone, please?
Yes.
So, there was a lot of comments made during the public hearing about this roadway and the need for these signs, and the opposite, the need to not post these signs. And dust was a major portion of that. What I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to send all the information that the Road and Bridge has for the road work that's been done on this road, because there was an accusation made that there was no attempt to help in this regard. And that is categorically false.
Agreed.
The data should allow these commissioners to know what was done on that road by the Road and Bridge. The Road and Bridge attempt to make this a better roadway for those folks has been consistent. And when that consistency ran out, that is what has created this dust, okay? If we're going to move traffic from roads that create dust, we're going to be removing traffic from about 25 to 30% of our roads, correct?
And at the end of the day, yeah, we have 140 miles of flex-based
Yes.
roads, and every one of those create dust.
That's right. So dust, while it may be a serious factor, it is also not a reason to remove traffic from a road. It cannot be the guiding light for us to move the traffic, correct?
I would agree. I mean, at the end of the day, the dust did not go into my recommendation.
So that would be somewhat classified as common sense, correct? Just want to make that point. I will tell you, you and I disagree about what we should do with this road. Pushing traffic onto another road where there's a 90-degree turn into property that's right across the road and two houses right next to the intersection, in my opinion, does create a safety issue. And I disagree that we should move that traffic for that purpose. The current route that these 18-wheelers are taking, they're going down 390. They're not going to Old Gay Hill Road, as been suggested. They're going down 390, and they're having to go down that road because because of the railroad trestle. They have to go down that road. Look, I think a more appropriate topic of discussion would be paving the road. That's what I believe, and that is something I will leave to you, as you and I have had discussions about creating a paving plan for Precinct 3 for roads that are utilizing the rock base. So I think that things have been done. It's been a continued conversation, and I appreciate the efforts that the Road and Bridge has done in this regard. And I appreciate all those folks that signed this petition. However, I disagree that putting the traffic in a different road is going to create more safety. It's just going to create less dust.
I have a couple questions. First, I'd like to make a statement. This is just for the general public to understand that while this particular road, because it is a flex-based road, can potentially be paved, not all of our flex-based rock roads actually have that option due to the lack of right-of-way. So I didn't want that to get out there, and then all of a sudden we hear from all these people wanting the same thing when they're two completely situations. One thing that I'd like both of y'all to explain to me, so Commissioner Hanneth or Mr. Stoltz, so you're saying they're coming down 390, and are they cutting across on Wolf Creek or on Murray Road over to Gilmore?
They're coming down 36 and going down Gilmore.
And then they're going down Murray right now,
No.
or they're taking it all the way around to Wolf Creek?
Wolf Creek goes back to 390.
Both of them come down Wolf Creek, but there's two routes to get to it. One of them is Gilmore, the other is Maury.
390.
So
They're already coming down Murray as well.
I believe that they're coming from both sides. Some of them prefer to come off 36 and come off of Maury.
So what
Yes,
you're
sir.
gonna do is
And the trestle is right here.
The corner is the
yeah, but I
problem.
think what my confusion was that according to what I'm reading here, it says a no-through truck sign at Gilmore at the intersection of 390 all the way to Murray. So
Well, that's
why would they?
36. That's 36.
That's what I mean. Didn't you say it was?
You said 390, but you meant 36.
You meant 36,
It
yeah.
says, oh, that's what I meant, 36. So if it's a no-through truck sign and you're saying they're cutting from 36 to 390, or back the other way around, or both?
It'd be both. They would have to go from, let's say they were going eastbound, they would go on 390, they'd go to Wolf Creek, Gilmore, over to the Maury intersection, come down Maury to 390. And if they were going westbound, they would come down 390 to Maury, to Gilmore, back over to Wolf Creek to 390.
So they are currently cutting through Maury.
From my visuals that I've seen out there, I've seen them come from both directions.
My concern is, now you're putting, right now the state has truck route there, correct?
Yeah.
Signs on 390? that say truck
So,
route?
so this is what we have, right? The reason why we have the signs posted in that particular location is purely from the standpoint, if a driver doesn't realize that they can't make that clearance,
That's what I'm
the
about to get to.
fastest.
That's what I'm about to get to. If they're coming off at 36 and they're going toward, now they have to go that way because you got no truck sign on Gilmore, off at 36. Now they're going to be forced to go down 390.
Yeah.
We already have how many of them that hit that bridge already because they're waiting till the last second. They don't realize what's going to happen. And now you're forcing all those trucks that are coming off 36 to go that way and turn down Maury Road. We're going to have a lot more of those trucks hit that because they're not going to realize it in time. And they're going to have a backup. That's my thought. And I also understand that 90-degree turn is not an easy turn.
It is.
With just a regular trailer, much less.
Well, we would
trying
have
to
to
have a-
acquire
They can't.
right-of-way
They
in
can't.
order to,
Well, they
I
got
mean,
houses right
which might not even be an option.
But for me, as many trucks that I've seen actually hit that bridge, now you're gonna
Yeah.
force more of them to make that decision to turn right or.
Exactly.
Well, I went out there and drove and kind of spent a little time, and I saw trucks on both roads. Just in the 30 minutes I was cruising around out there. So I don't know that it's gonna make a difference one way or another.
And to
With
be
the
honest
dust
with you,
and the trucks, they're gonna be on both roads.
really the recommendation comes from me purely from the standpoint is it's less road that I've got to deal with in terms of maintenance with truck traffic. That's purely where it comes from. Look, there's a lot of people that deal with dust, right? It's in the heat of the summer, you're going to deal with fines. Fines need to be in your roadway if it's not going to be paved. I don't think that we should go to Bull Rock. That's going to cause a lot of problems.
I think we should.
Have we?
Post up gravel.
I'm assuming, because,
Put
you know,
Bull Rock on there and
obviously,
see how it works.
when they were using that Burton Rock, I don't know, Commissioner Hannah, that had to
been a
have been,
long
what,
time ago.
2 decades
Long
ago,
time ago.
maybe? Maybe
No,
What's
longer?
that?
The Burton Rock.
Not quite that long.
Not quite that long?
I don't know if
Well,
it's
before I
it's
got
gonna, it's
here.
gonna
All
go.
right.
And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if sandstone is underneath that. What's currently in place is recycled asphalt pavement. That's what's currently in place.
Also, Bull Rock is cheaper than what we put on.
Bull
the-
Rock is a lot
That's-
cheaper.
I want to clarify.
Yes, Bull Rock is a
Yeah.
lot cheaper. We're
Okay.
paying for higher quality material.
I thought so.
Okay.
There's a lot of issues with Bull Rock if you decide to put that on that road.
Don't put Bull Rock on.
I'm not
making
okay.
a
I
joke.
thought you were recommending. I was like,
I was making a
I don't
joke.
want to do that.
I was joking.
I'm just telling you, I'm gonna get the phone calls. You guys aren't.
That stuff rolls and goes.
I think everybody would.
It was a
We have
joke.
good, if you have good gravel that
For the
has
press, it was
fines
a
in it,
joke.
it does pretty good, but
So
not
you
just
used
Bull Rock.
RAP, so,
That won't work.
It has
I
wrap
mean,
on it.
huh?
It has wrap on it.
Well, is some
I
of
think-
the.
So the reason why RAP was placed was because of the dust, right?
Right.
It did cut down on dust. But with RAP and those trucks, it got to a point where, look, we had an emulsion layer on it. We came and reset it, put another emulsion layer on top, and it's not holding up. So
And
if you
as
have
we
0.7
discussed
miles,
on Dairy
exactly.
Farm, it's very difficult to maintain.
It is. And if you're talking about putting an emulsion on it every couple years, you're spending a tremendous amount of money for dust control. Not for structural capabilities of the roadway, but dust control. And really, it just got to the point where, from a financial standpoint, it's untenable. If we were to go with that option, we've tried it.
And you'd need to do it on every county road once everybody found out you were doing that.
If that
Every
was
dirt
the
road.
case, yes, ma'am. Look, we've been looking at different options for dust control. We've been looking at calcium chloride, and it's something we are looking into, and we're gonna put it down some more this year in high truck traffic areas, right? We're getting some assistance with oil and gas companies in that regard. Even then, I don't know if it's financially feasible for long haul without financial assistance.
Right.
You're talking about $5,000 every half a mile. So if we put it on 140 miles, you can do the math. That's 280 times 5,000. That's on a yearly basis. It's not financially feasible. But we are continuing to look for other options. It's just the structural capability of the roadway must always take precedent.
All right. Is there a motion? Then we can discuss some more, but we're doing it all backwards. Is there a motion? Hearing no motion, the item dies from lack of a motion. Item number 7, discuss and act upon the approval to reduce the speed limit on Old Mill Creek Road from South Berlin Road to County Place West Road pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.151, Precinct 4.
Just for clarification, this is for the 45
45
miles per
mile an
hour.
hour.
Yes, sir.
45 mile an hour reduction. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the reduced speed limit on Old Mill Creek Road from South Berlin Road to County Place West Road pursuant to the Texas Transportation Code 251.151 in Precinct 4 to the recommended 45 miles an hour.
Ms. Charlotte?
There wasn't a second.
I'll
motion.
second that.
There's motion made and seconded. Discussion?
I have a question. There was discussion. That road is not posted now, correct?
It's not.
Correct.
It's zero posting.
Okay, but it's 60 miles an hour with zero posting.
That's correct.
Correct.
All
That's
county roads.
state law.
As
That's a
most county
state
roads
law.
are.
Just state law. They have to be 60 miles an hour if it's not posted.
Okay. Just
County roads.
clarification.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, discuss and act on the approval to reduce the speed limit on Old Mill Creek Road from Country Place West Road to Farmers Road pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.151, Precinct 4.
So, Mr. Stoltz, I wanted
Excuse
to.
me, we need a motion first
Okay.
before we do
I'll
that.
make a motion to approve this, reduce the speed limit to 35 miles an hour on Old Mill Creek Road from County Place West Road to Farmers Road pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 251.151, Precinct 4.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. Stoltz, I would just like to say I appreciate the study that you've done. I do feel that it's appropriate for us to create a standard in how we come to the conclusion of these roadways. You and I have had lengthy discussions about this specific speed limit, and because it is a boundary between Precinct 3 and Precinct 4, it affects both of those precinct residents, and so it's important to both of us that we do the right thing. I can tell you that there are arguments that could go back and forth, as was posed today, but I do think that in this situation, 35 miles an hour is an appropriate speed limit.
I'd like to kind of follow up on what he said, and I hope everybody understands that what Mr. Stoltz was recommending is a standard. Just as we have policy, we try to follow those policies. In this case, due to the circumstances with the 35 miles and most people perceiving it to be that, who typically will take 3 to 5 miles over, which I think we found the average folks were driving about 37, is that? 38?
36.43 is the average.
36.4.
Okay. Sorry, I rounded it up. And we also understand that if it had gone, or I understand that if it had gone forth, or if it does go forth, like at 40, people are going to take 3 to 5. So I appreciate what you put together, and I also understand that the 35 miles is technically the 25th percentile according to the study that you did. But I do believe that in this situation, 35 miles an hour is a common sense speed limit.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And this is being approved for 35, correct?
35.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
As presented.
I want to make sure I put up the right sign.
Two signs, that's it.
No
Yeah.
through no through truck. 45, 35. Or
There we go.
40,
All right.
Right? 45, 35.
Item number 9, discuss and possibly act upon a subdivision variance request for land division fronting FM 389, 57.585 acres located on the Barden Gale Tract A-0014, Precinct 4.
Yes, so we do have a subdivision variance request. This is a pretty large tract that we have here. They've actually petitioned a 13-acre in the past via the Texas statute exemption for anything over 10 acres. They are actually looking to break this into 4 additional tracts, 2 of which are actually over 10 acres. So they actually technically don't need to make that request, but they can if they see fit. What we do have here is we do have a 4 and 5 acre tract, which does require approval from the Commissioner's Court to move forward with. This does front 389 for 3 of those tracts. As you see here, they are requesting a driveway access off of Brant Road. The only additional driveway access off of 389 would be the 5 acre tract that we're looking at here. We have reached out to TxDOT and we've been working with this one, and they are good to go with the additional driveway for the 5 acre tract based on the location that we've been working with on the landowners. The minimum frontage requirement has been met, with the smallest of which is 4 acres, and that is over 300 foot, which is far surpassing our 60-foot requirements. They meet all other requirements, and we do have approval from the state, and I do recommend approval of this subdivision variance request that you see before you.
I make a motion to approve the subdivision variance request for a land division fronting FM 389, 57.58 acres located in the Borden Gale Tract 3A-0014, Precinct 4.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, discuss a formal notice for water service installation by PGMS along Iron Bridge Road and Colvin Road right-of-way, Precinct 3.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is the primary objective is to loop the system. With water supply, water quality is paramount for these distanced lines. So what they're looking to do is they're trying to loop in the system that they already have about 80% along Colvin back over to Iron Bridge. The Colvin section is 745 feet to the intersection where they would cross over Iron Bridge. And the space in the ditch there is 6 to 10 foot. We've worked out this is a 2-inch line. They're going to be boring, and we do have space in there to be able to accommodate a 2-inch. The other section, which would be traversing down Iron Bridge, would be 2,450 feet. The space between the edge of pavement to the right-of-way line is 12 to 17 feet. Obviously, no issues whatsoever that we found in that particular area to be able to get this system looped and make sure that there is a higher level of quality of water for this particular area for these residents.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, item number 11.
Thank you very
Discuss and
much.
possibly act upon the approval of proclamation proclaim. Oops, we already did that one. Excuse me. Item
been
number
so long
12.
ago.
Discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts. This morning we have one of those. It's for a quinceanera.
I make a motion to approve the rental agreements and authorize the judge to sign them.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 13, discuss and possibly act on the approval of 2025 Bluebonnet Festival Mass Gathering Permit application. Mr. Rimke?
Judge Commissioners, you should have a application packet there for a mass gathering permit. They do this every year. It's been honed and revised where they have all the safety features that we have requested them to have. So I see no reason not to approve it.
I make a motion to approve the 2025 Bluebonnet Festival Mass Gathering Permit application.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, discuss and possibly act upon approval of 2025 Bluebonnet Festival right-of-way permit.
Same thing, same information, basically. So be recommended to approve that as
I
well.
make a motion to approve the 2025 Bluebonnet Festival right-of-way permit application.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 15, discuss and possible act upon approval of lease agreement between Washington County and Rita LLC for the JP4 office located at 4402 North Main Street, Burton, Texas. This would be renewing our lease, but I want to point out that the lease would go up to $1,200 a month from originally $600 a month.
Wow.
But we've been extremely cheap these other years, let's put it that way. It's still,
I make a motion to approve the lease agreement between Washington County and Rita LLC for the JP number 4 office located on 4402 North Main Street, Burton, Texas.
I'll second that.
motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of funding agreement between Washington County and the Texas Historical Commission. This is the funding agreement to continue to, with our repairs and fix up the outside of the courthouse. Is what this is.
I make a motion to approve the funding agreement between Washington County and the Texas Historical Commission.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17, discuss and possibly act upon approval of a salary request for First Assistant District Attorney as required by policy. So Derek was here earlier, is he? Guess he had all the fun he could have.
You go home.
He probably left us. First Assistant District Attorney, it's a new hire, full-time position. I don't think this is an increase in budget.
Here we are.
There he is, okay. Trying to read through all this. What you got there, Darren?
I have found and hired a new first assistant district attorney to secure her employment, which she's taking a pay cut to come on anyway. I had to offer her, I think, if I remember the math right, it was about 15% above the minimum, which requires coming to Commissioner's Court for approval. As part of the packet, Angela with HR sent over a copy of the status form, as well as Ms. Barney's resume and the spreadsheet that calculates kind of an idea in terms of weighted years experience. To be honest, I didn't know we had that spreadsheet. That's very handy.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, well, we can't hire
So, Mrs.
everybody on the
Malchik,
minimum.
you recommend this starting salary for this individual based upon experience?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will front to the court that the spreadsheet itself doesn't quite cover all of Ms. Barney's experience. I mean, it identifies, I think, 26 and a half. She's actually got just over 30 years. She started with the Harris County DA's office, working for Johnny Holmes, and then did about 15 years in private practice. So I'm getting somebody with as much experience in the criminal realm as the rest of my office combined.
It looks like it's above the midpoint, is that correct? Is that what I saw?
Let's see. The midpoint is the 121, so I don't think so.
Right? It's the midpoint plus, am I looking at the right one?
Midpoint.
Midpoint plus,
Because this is what
correct?
we're looking at, yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But I would think with 30 years of
That,
experience,
with 30 years,
that is
that's
more
why I was
than-
asking, because I know
Yeah.
traditionally we had used approximately 10 for that, so,
Pretty close.
yeah, okay.
It's
That's why we
worth-
have the formula.
It's worth pointing out, just by way of information, that to get her, like I said, she had to take a pay cut, which she was agreeable to because she likes Washington County.
That's my next
The-
question. Does this individual live in Washington County?
She does not. She currently lives in Harris County, but is open to moving. She has, she's a single mom with a young child that requires some specific school needs, and so I don't know that she will be able to move to Washington County just based on that, but it's certainly
Right.
something she's considering.
Okay. Sounds like you found a good candidate.
For what it's worth, I had to offer her what the state pays me. So by the time she starts collecting her state longevity, she will make more than I do.
Surround yourself with good people.
That's right. Okay.
But if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best I can, although I printed this sheet a little small for reading.
I make a motion to approve the salary request for the first assistant district attorney as required by policy and as presented.
A second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Item number 18, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of Commissioners Court meetings minutes, March 2025.
Mr. Prinzler, did you get my email with the correct? Perfect. So, I've sent all my corrections to Mr. Prinzler. I see nothing else wrong with these minutes. I make a motion to approve the Commissioners Court meeting minutes from March 2025.
Second.
Motion been made. Was it a second?
Yes, sir. Second.
And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 19, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
The expenses for this week are $629,045.15.
Just know that one of the items is courthouse
For the courthouse
restoration.
restoration.
Yes.
And bunch of rock material.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to approve accounts payable.
A second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 20.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.